Hey, Sam.
Hey Bev, how's it going?
Ooh, it's going very well, especially now that we're chatting and I'm holding beer in my hands.
I know it feels like we're back to normal because last time we recorded on Sunday, but the time before that it was Tuesday, so it felt really weird. So it feels like we're back in the groove, but I feel like I have no idea what happened to you this past week. And you have so many things to tell me, and I have so many things to tell you.
Ooh, that means this is going to be a good one.
I hope so. I hope we don't suck.
Yeah, I hope so too. That would be kind of shitty to like start going downhill at episode 8, right? It seems a little
I
soon.
know.
Maybe after like episode 100, we can
Yeah.
start going downhill and people are, like forgive us, right?
Yeah, we might have to start getting really crafty and doing like weird shit around 100. That would be like we're 2 weeks in, or not 2 weeks in, 2 years in. So maybe we'll both have like elephants by then or something strange. And then, we'll still accumulate different kinds of animals. Probably not elephants, but we're always going to have our farm antics to rely on.
That's true because the farm antics are pretty freaking hilarious if I do say so myself.
Oh, never a dull moment, that's for sure. So, what are you drinking today?
So I think I'm going to start off by asking you what you're drinking.
Oh, snap.
I know. We're going to do this a little out of order, mostly because, like, I mean, as you know, and I'm sure that the listeners know by now, like, what I'm drinking is going to have, like, a huge backstory to it. So we got to make sure and get
Oh,
yours, because otherwise I'm going to forget to ask you again, like I did when we went on that weird tangent about the cursive.
oh, that's
That's
right.
totally up on Patreon. That the rest of the listeners didn't get to hear it because I cut it and put it on Patreon. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I didn't forget to ask you what you were drinking again
Aw,
because I felt so
you're
rude.
so thoughtful. So, mine has like a mini backstory. So, I started off this morning with brunch at this place called Sidetracks in Ypsilanti, which is like super close to Ann Arbor. And it's so freaking cute there. And they have this Bloody Mary bar. So you get to like, they just literally bring you back a glass of vodka with like bacon salt around the rim. Oh my God, which is delicious in and of itself. And then you get to go up to this bar and you get to choose if you want like tomato juice or a Bloody Mary mix. And then you can add pickle juice and olive juice and like all these sides, like pickles and bacon and cheeses and oh my gosh. And like hot
Oh,
sauces.
it's making me so hungry.
Ugh.
I want to eat a Bloody Mary.
I am so full because I got two of them when I was there. So because I did
Mm.
that, and then I was so full, I came home and took a nap because that's what Sundays are for when you have nothing else to do. And then I decided it would be a very good idea to just keep going with the vodka theme. So I'm just having a Tito's vodka with some seltzer water that is black cherry flavored.
Mm. That sounds delicious.
It is, it's quite refreshing. It's not as fancy as what I was drinking this morning, but this morning was dangerous because you didn't taste the vodka. So I think that's why I drank two of them at a
Ah,
pretty decent
yeah.
pace. And I was with people I haven't seen in probably since like my wedding or even before, and I've almost been married 3 years now. Well, not all of them. One of them was somebody that I converted to crazy chicken dumb.
Nice.
So he has a couple of him and his wife have a couple of my chickens that hatched around the eclipse last year. And then the other people I haven't seen in a while. I used to work with them at a call center. So we all pretty much hated that job, but because of each other could survive. Like they say, it's not about your job, but the people you work with.
Mm-hmm.
And that was so true there. Like that job was just miserable. So that was a lot of fun. And then I have this habit of like when I don't see people for a while, I get really excited and then I tend to drink more than I thought was going to. So it made
Yeah.
me a little sleepy. But my husband drove me home, so it's not like I was, tipsy driving or anything.
Oh,
So
yeah.
good deal.
Well, brunch sounds like a great way to spend a Sunday.
It is. Like we usually go out to breakfast someplace locally, but there's no booze there, which is fine because like we have the kids every other weekend, so they go with us and so that felt like more of like a grown-up breakfast.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Grown-up breakfasts are important.
Is. They are. Okay, so now what are you drinking?
I am drinking a beer from Homestead Beer Company. And it was so funny. I looked it up before we sat down because I didn't want to forget the name of it because it's one of their new
Ooh.
ones. So it was something that they had just started tapping yesterday.
Oh, fancy.
Or maybe they had started tapping it the day before. But it is called Forever Green Wheat IPA,
Ooh.
which an IPA isn't normally my style of beer that I would go for, but I have discovered that I really enjoy the wheat IPAs. I don't know if like the wheatiness sort of like cuts the bite of the hops for me because some of the IPAs and some of the hoppier beers kind of give you like that punch in the face with the hops,
Yeah,
which I don't really care
me
for.
either.
It's just not really my style of beer. Not that it's not good or that, like it makes it a bad beer. It's just not the style that I prefer to drink. But I really love this Forever Green Wheat IPA from Homestead Beer Company. And in fact, I had a flight of all of their beers yesterday, and they were all good. And several of them were IPAs. So when I got there, I was a little nervous. I was like, oh no, I might not really care for any of these beers. But every single one was delicious. And in fact, I brought home like a ton of beer. In fact, this one I put in my fancy keg that we talked about last week on the podcast. So
Oh.
I've got like a whole keg of beer in here with me while we're recording. So we'll see how far I get through it.
Uh-oh.
It's easy to dispense from like this fancy pull handle. And it was really funny when I filled it. I got tons of like comments on it. People were like asking me about it. I was like, oh, my parents got it for me for Christmas. And they're like, oh, you have the coolest parents ever. I'm like, I know. My parents are great. Although they don't listen to this, so they're never going to hear that I called them great, but that's all right.
I mean, I feel like my mom was like, I'll totally listen to your podcast, and it hasn't happened yet. And now we're 8 episodes in. But I mean, maybe it's better that she doesn't listen.
Well, it's funny. Like some people that I know, like in person, they'll ask me about it or like, I'll mention it because a lot has been kind of like going on with it. Like we're talking about recording places, which is one of
Right.
the reasons why like I went to Homestead. So like there's a lot going on with it, so I can't help but like talk about it or be excited about it. But they're like, "What's your podcast about?" I'm like, "Well, um, this woman that I've never met in Michigan. She has pink hair, and I liked her without having met her. So I asked her if she wanted to do a podcast, and we just like drink and talk about things. And a lot of it's farming, but not all of it's farming. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the podcast is about. You just have to listen to find out.
Exactly. I mean, I have people at my work that I talk to about it, and I'm just like, yep, we pretty much just talk about drinking and farming things. That's why we called it We Drink and We Farm Things, because
Yeah.
it's just that simple. And you can't get much granular because it goes all over the place.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I just love the way that our conversations sort of like veer off in one direction and then like slowly circle back to like what it was that we were sort of focusing on.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of circling back, another reason I was at Homestead Beer Company was because Farm to Table Mama invited me. She hashtags her chore beer every day at the end of the day, or probably not every day. I don't think she drinks a beer every day. She might. I don't know. No judgment here.
No.
I drink a beer a lot of days, so not judging. But she I think she must have like hashtagged like Homestead Beer or something like that, and Homestead Beer Company took notice of it. If I'm remembering right, she picked up a 6 pack of their 10 penny at their local grocery store, and that was one of her chore beers.
Oh.
And that's how they found her and sent her a message and invited her up. So it was super cool. She and her husband were there and they were taking some video of like the production area. They gave us a tour, like told us all about how they got started and why they brew and about their brewery and their style of beer and some history of beer. It was super cool and super informative. And she and her husband were awesome. Like I've been a little nervous about meeting people that I've met on IG because I'm kind of afraid like like are they really gonna like me or are they gonna think that I'm like a weirdo? Or because like we post our stuff on Instagram and what we're posting is like something that's really going on at that moment, but it's something that we saw that we decided to share. So we're not like
Right.
we're not sharing our whole selves on it. It's I don't want to say that it's like the idealized side because I don't think that that's really the case either. Because, like we share the sad.
Right. But but you choose what's sad and good and bad that you choose. You're not sharing every sad, bad thing in your life. It's still what you choose.
Yeah, oh yeah. It's still what you choose. So when you like go to meet somebody in person, you're like what if we don't really have anything in common?
Yep.
Or, like what if they see me and they're like, "Oh, like that wasn't what I was expecting," or I don't know. I'm nervous because I am kind of a shy person. I'm getting better about it. I feel like I didn't act like I was shy at all or nervous, but I was. I was a little nervous going out there. In fact, I brought a friend with me because I
Right.
was like,
Well, what if she was a crazy murderer? Like, you don't know. What's her real name?
her real name is Brittany.
Okay.
Yeah.
Brittany, I don't think you're a murderer for the record. I was just saying that for comedic effect. So don't hate me if we ever meet in person.
Well, you will. You'll get to meet her in person when we record at Homestead.
Oh, that's
Because she's one of
right.
our Patreon supporters. So all of our
Woo!
Patreon supporters are going to get to find out when we record there, like what day and what time, so that you can come and join us. And yeah, we'll figure out
Yes.
like all the details of that leading up to it. But it is something that we've kind of got in the works. And it's a super cool brewery. They're really nice guys. Like, they were great. We spent 5 hours there yesterday.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and I bought all the things while I was there. I got like two growlers of beer. I got a six pack of beer. I got a hat.
I saw that today. I'm so behind on Chicken Zolfi Sunday today because of my nap, but I did see your hat. I was like, I want to buy things.
Hmm. They have all sorts of cool stuff there. So when we go, you'll have to get a couple things because I thought it was fun to be like out doing chores today, like repping a beer brand that I actually like got to go see in Ohio and that, like was, excited to meet me and like talk about the podcast and whatnot. And yeah, so that was super fun. And it was great getting to know Brittany and her husband Justin.
Oh my God.
They were super great
Wait,
people.
wait, wait, wait. His name is Justin.
Yes, her husband's name is
That is
Justin.
creepy because the Brittany that I met at Nailfest, her husband's name is Justin.
Well, and wasn't like
That
Britney
is creepy.
Spears and like Justin Timberlake a thing like 20 years
Oh my
ago?
gosh. I didn't even think about that.
Because that's how I
They're like
remembered it. I was like, ooh,
predestined.
Britney and Justin. I'll totally be able to remember that. Or you
That's
know what?
creepy. So if you bring that, you bring that Brittany Justin, I'll bring my Brittany and Justin, and then we'll all just be
That's
confused.
amazing. That will be a great time. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what if I remembered his name wrong and it's not really Justin and we just totally went off on this Britney and Justin thing and I'm wrong? I'll correct myself in the show notes.
Then it's going on Patreon. It's going on Patreon, and hopefully she doesn't share it with him.
No, but he was a super nice guy too. He's a contractor. He builds fences. They live just like a county over from where I do. So I really think that I like made a friend like in real life that I'll like get to hang out with now, like in my state. So I'm all excited. I was all nervous about meeting people from Instagram, but it turns out that it's probably just going to be fine.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, so I think it's a lot like online dating. And I'm not sure if you got to skip that part of life.
I did. I skipped that part
Um,
of life. Yep.
okay. I did not. That's actually how I met my husband ultimately. But in order to get to him, I had to like shift through a lot of shitty weirdos along the way. And you'd have like really good chemistry with somebody over like messages or whatever. And then you'd meet them in person and like they were like really creepy and cross-eyed and just stared at your eyes and told you how nice your eyes were, but you couldn't really stare at their eyes because they were cross-eyed, but they didn't tell you they were cross-eyed, so it caught you off guard and like you're a younger, immature person and you just can't handle it. Yeah, no. Whew,
Yeah, I mean,
that was bad.
I do imagine that eventually in our meeting of people from Instagram, something similar will happen. But so far it's been great. And farm people are the best people, so yeah.
Yeah, and you can be like cordial with somebody, but you're not going to be like besties with
That's
everybody,
very true.
and that's fine. Or or maybe I'm very wrong, and then we're besties with like freaking everybody. and that's would be awesome but exhausting. I'm really bad with names, you guys. I'm gonna have to get everybody name tagged.
Oh, you know what? I'm really bad with names too. That's why I'm not 100% sure that I got Brittany and Justin's name right. I know it's Brittany's name though, because I have her cell phone number now and I've saved it in my phone. So
At least that
I know
one's
that
right.
one's right.
We'll have to get everybody name tags and they'll have to put their real person name and then like their Instagram handle under it because I'm gonna remember that before their actual name.
That is a great idea. Yeah, it was funny because, I knew that Brittany's name was Brittany because she has it on her thing. It says, like Farm to Table Mama, and it says Brittany. So I knew that her first name was Brittany, but still I was calling her Brittany Farm to Table Mama. And I was like, I gotta stop doing that. I can't refer to you by your Instagram handle because, like, you're just Brittany. She did like a cool live video too. I'm bummed that it'll be down by the time this goes. But if it's still like within the 24 hours of when she posted it yesterday, I don't know if it is. You can still watch it if you would like to, but no one else will get to watch it. But yeah,
Hmm,
she did a live video while we were there at the brewery, and we like waved and said hi, and it was super cool.
fun. I'm excited to visit there.
It's going to be fun. And plus, it'll be the first time we meet in person. I don't know if you had thought of
I
that
know.
because we haven't met in person yet.
Well, which is weird because I feel like I talk to you more than I talk to like 90% of people in my life. And I like choose to talk to you. So that's an even bigger
I was gonna
deal.
say, I'm not expecting that weird like awkwardness when we meet because we've like actually talked on the
No.
phone. Like, so we like kind of have an idea of like who we are,
Right.
or at least who each other is.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm not too worried. If anything, I'm more worried that I'm gonna have to drive like 4 hours to go there and then I'm not gonna want to leave
Hmm.
and then I'm gonna have a very tipsy drive home, which I'm sure I'll bring my husband so I can be a little tipsy.
Well, I was gonna suggest that if you wanted to and you had a farm sitter, you just come here for the night and then drive back the next day. Because
Oh
then we
yeah.
can have a good time
Sleepover.
there and have a good time here and then sleep in Sunday morning and then drive back. That might be the way to do it.
Ooh, yes. Yes. And then we could record like a bonus
Oh,
episode
yeah.
while we're
A
at your
hungover
place.
bonus
Yeah.
episode.
For our yeah, for our Patreon listeners. You guys, seriously, you need to get over to Patreon because we're gonna start pumping out some crazy good stuff for you guys, like extra episodes that may or may not go on, the regular podcast places that you listen to. So I don't want to talk it up too much, but it's gonna probably be pretty
Well, I
awesome.
think some of the things we put up there so far is pretty fun. Like I was able to like cut a couple of conversations, and I still have a whole pile of stuff that I have to go through from last week. I sort of ran out
Ooh.
of time. Sometimes last week's episode was a little long, so it took me a little longer to edit, and then I just sort of ran out of time. Work and taking care of animals and podcasting and
Yeah, living that farm
yeah, all
life.
those
Yeah.
things sort of steal at my attention.
There is quite a bit of stuff on there, though. I'm just scrolling through
Hmm.
it right now. So, yeah. $2, guys. $2.
And we're super appreciative of the Patreons that we do
Oh my
have.
gosh,
So,
I
like,
know.
at the end, we'll like tell you this episode was brought to you by the Patreons and, you know, all that good stuff. So it'll be fun.
I know.
Although I just kind of did it just now. I ruined it. I'll do it again. It'll be better.
I'm so excited that people like us enough to like support us already, and we're only 8 episodes in.
I do too.
I get the warm fuzzies.
Since we're on the subject of things that we're recording and doing live, I don't know if the listeners have heard of Farm Her Talk. It's farm.her.talk. She does a weekly recording with one of her followers, and they just sort of talk about life and farms and being a woman like in agriculture and living on a farm. And she's going to be interviewing Sam and I on May 23rd. So if you
Woohoo.
listen to Farm Her Talk, you'll get to hear us talk again that week, but to her.
Woo.
So you should go follow that page so you
Yes.
can keep up with the awesome ladies that she interviews there and then see ours when it comes up in late May. I know that's kind of a long ways away, but I wanted to get that out there so that you guys knew what was going on. And so that you could start following this right now because it is super cool.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to listen to like full conversations, but I've heard like the ones on her Instagram. And it's so cool. It's such a cool concept. And then we're hoping to actually have her on our podcast too, so we can kind of flip the role on her there and interview her
Yes.
instead of the other way around.
And that's going to be really fun. She might be our first guest. It kind of depends on when we end up scheduling her. But yeah, it'll be exciting to add another person to this little
Yeah.
shindig drinking farm party thing we got going on. We'll have to tell her to bring her a drinking game.
Yeah, and then we have some other things in the works for you guys too, with potential other guests. So we're gonna start getting pretty fancy over here, throwing in some other people. We'll see how that goes.
Well, after this episode drops, I would be really excited if we hit our very first goal that we've got on Patreon, which would give us the ability to buy some sounds for our podcast, because that would really class this thing up, like having some transition sounds and maybe like, I don't know, a fiddle playing us in. I don't know. I don't know what kind of theme music like fits us. I haven't figured that out yet, but we'll find something that fits us and
Yeah.
sounds good and just like little polishing.
Yeah, maybe some chicken noises to put over us when we swear. That might be
There we
fun.
go. And
That way
like
people
goat
could listen with their
noises.
kids. Oh yeah, goat noises. I mean, I did a pretty good goat noise like 2 episodes ago. I feel
You
like you
did.
could
Maybe
just
I'll
use that.
save that and use that. That would be the greatest transition noise ever. But no, I still don't think people can listen with their kids because we do things like ruin the Easter Bunny
Oh, that's
and like
true.
talk about. I mean, is this going to be like the third episode in a row that I said spooge? I can't remember if I said it last episode or
I
not, but
definitely said it when I was talking about Hamlet. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Hamlet does get his surgery on Friday, so I will be able to talk about that next week. And I also, I don't know, I should save this for later. I'll save it for next week too, but it's a little preview. Apparently, pigs can get this thing called piss pocket, so we'll talk about that next
Ooh.
week too.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Cliffhanger, guys. Cliffhanger. I need to remind myself to talk about a piss pocket. Okay.
Here, I'll
Yeah,
add that
see,
to my
no, this is
notes
not kid
right now.
friendly.
Yeah, no, no, no. I'm gonna add that to my notes right now. I'm trying to be more organized. Piss pocket. Is that, did I get that right? Did I capture
Yes, yes, you
I
did.
captured the
Piss
essence of
pocket.
what we want to talk about? Piss pocket, and I'm
Yeah.
put in parentheses pig so that I know whose piss pocket we're
Yeah.
referring
Yeah,
to.
yeah. Because it might be it could be anybody.
Oh,
I mean, maybe not a chicken,
no, because they
but
don't really
yeah.
pee. They have like
Right.
their excrement is like both at the same time, and it just comes out of
Right.
their
How
vent. That
convenient.
is that is super convenient. I was just thinking that because I
Yeah.
saw them pooping a ton while we were out today. We had some free range time, and in fact, for the first time today, I just opened up their coop door and their run door, and then I went into the barn and was doing work with my
Ooh.
husband and let them just peck around for a couple of hours, and then I went back and put everybody back in. So I'm becoming less of a helicopter chicken mom than I was originally. So,
Husband was telling me when I was doing my Sleeping Beauty thing this afternoon that he went outside and there was a hawk that like because on our property like it's pretty open, but if you go a couple acres back, there's like really thick woods, and a hawk like came out of the woods and started doing really low circles around our farm. And the roosters did a very good job of warning everybody, and they all like hid under bushes and hid under cars and ran back in the coop and
oh,
stuff. So
good.
the roosters definitely earned their keep, and then the hawk just like ran away. Honestly, the hawk would be better like trying to catch a wild rabbit
Probably.
because we have so many roosters. And it's like, okay, I'm okay keeping you all. Good job.
So, how many roosters do you have in your flock?
Okay,
Do you know?
so,
I'm sorry. I hate putting you on the spot
well,
with these questions like this. I always feel
no,
like
no,
I
no,
surprise
no.
you.
No, I have to think about it, and it's kind of complicated because we have, well, Bandit, who's just tiny little bantam guy. He could easily sacrifice himself, which would make me super sad.
Yeah.
We have Snickers and Mr. Frizzle, who I thought was a Mrs. for a while.
Mrs. Frizzle is a super cool name for a chicken, but Mr. Frizzle's pretty good too.
Yeah. Well, because he's like Mr. Frizzle is a red frizzled bantam cochin, so it was
Yeah.
like perfect for Miss
We
Frizzle.
got some Magic School Bus
It's like,
action
damn
going on there.
it.
Yeah.
Damn it. Yeah. And then we have Gomez and Batman or Bruce Wayne. I kind of alternate his name. But then we also have the sizzle babies, so the silky and frizzle bantam cochin mixes. And I'm like 90% sure that most of those are boys, and I'm gonna have to get rid of them, and I'm really devastated because they're so pretty. But we're gonna have too many, and then they start getting aggressive with each other, and that's not good. So I'm starting to think through like who I want to keep for breeding purposes, and we're gonna start building breeding pens, so we can rotate them out more. But shit is stressful because I get attached.
And when you have too many roos too, like won't they like overwork the hens? Because like you have to have so many hens like per roo.
Hmm.
So I
Which
lost
we
count.
have,
You said a lot of names, but I
yeah,
lost count. How many roosters is that for sure? Not counting the new like frizzle, bantam. What were those? Cochins? I lost. I lost the
yeah,
name already.
frizzle bantam
Oh, I
cochins.
did get it right. Okay, go me.
Yeah.
Cheers to that.
So there's six, but we have like probably like 60 hens. So they
Oh
each get like
yes,
10
they've
each.
got plenty. Oh yeah. Oh, so when you were telling me your number of chickens, you had just given me the hens, not your roosters also when we
Oh
talked
yeah,
about your
no.
original.
And
Oh, okay.
I honestly don't know the actual number, but I'm pretty sure it's over 60 for hens
So say
at this
you're
point.
not alone in that. I've discovered that there's lots of people that don't know how many chickens they have. At first, when I heard that, it was like, how do you not know how many chickens you have? But now I can totally see it. I mean, I only have 10, so I have a super easy time keeping track of them because, like I just count to 10,
Right.
and if one's missing, I go looking for it. But yeah.
Right. And they all like kind of hang out in the same area when they roost at night, so I just do like a visual check.
Yeah.
And there are certain ones that I know that tend to want to stay outside longer, so I definitely look for those ones in particular.
Yeah.
But we have like a couple, like five of our hens right now are broody, which is just a pain in the
Oh.
ass. So I moved Marshmallow up into the chicken tractor because I wanted to put her somewhere where she could sit and hatch eggs, where she wouldn't be bothered or anything. And she's throwing a fit now, and I think it might actually break her broodiness. I'm
Oh.
like, damn it. I actually wanted you to, like, there's a nesting box in there and everything. It's like, I need you to sit down and sit on the fake egg that's in there so I can put some duck eggs under you.
Oh, so you would have her hatch the duck eggs. Well, chickens will do that. They'll
Yes.
hatch duck eggs and they'll like raise the duck babies as their own.
Yes. Yeah, you kind of have to keep an eye on it to make sure that they don't like just kill them,
Okay.
which can happen with just chickens too, or with
Yeah.
chicks. But my plan is probably to have her hatch them and then probably just take them and put them in with the other ones because what happened was Sam, thanks to the little white coop, aka Brittany, my Brittany.
You're gonna have a Brittany and I have a Brittany. Is this how this is gonna go?
Yeah, yeah. So my plan is, okay, so Brittany, she was telling me that two of her silkies were broody, so she went on eBay to buy hatching eggs, and I was like, how did I not even think about buying hatching eggs on eBay?
Oh.
Obviously, anybody and their mom can get on there and sell anything, so you definitely want to check the reviews and make sure like people are receiving eggs in good condition and blah blah blah. So I was like, oh well, I've been dying to have Muscovy ducks and call ducks for a couple months now. Feels longer than that, but Muscovies around here are kind of hard to find, and I've been just getting impatient with the people that do have them that might be hatching ducklings. So I was like, I don't want to wait anymore. I ordered 10 hatching eggs from eBay
Okay.
for Muscovies. And then my husband won this little Facebook auction and got six more that'll be showing up tomorrow. So we're going to have 16 Muscovy hatching eggs. And then I won an auction for 8 call duck eggs,
Ooh.
and she sent me 13. Yeah, so I'm like, okay, I can put some of these call duck eggs because those ducks stay like super small. They're so damn cute. And she sent me like a variety of eggs, so I have no idea what kind I'm getting. I
Okay.
just know that they're the smaller breed. So that'll be fun. So I thought I could put like 3 under her because she's been broody for what seems like months. Like she's very broody on and off, typical Silky. And I was like, okay, I feel like she's been broody enough times and sat there long enough that I know she'll do it. So if she calms down in the chicken tractor, we'll let her hatch some eggs finally. Yeah, so that's Sam's new addiction is buying hatching eggs on eBay.
That sounds like both an awesome and an awful addiction.
Yeah,
Just because you can
yeah,
end up with too many eggs. That sounds like an awful lot of ducks. But I imagine that you can like hatch them all out and then you can sell some of them to other people that
right.
want some ducks. Especially Muscovies are so hard to come by there. Because I was
Yeah.
going to tell you, the farm that I got the goats from, they have Muscovies. And in fact, he
Mm.
has offered me a breeding pair of Muscovy
Do
ducks.
it. Do
And I
it.
really want to take them,
Do
but
it.
I need to talk my husband into it.
Do
He doesn't want to
it.
add any more animals this year.
They're so easy, and I've heard they are really quiet. I saw a couple at an auction locally, and they were so quiet, especially compared to the
Were
guineas.
they? Okay.
Oh my God, guineas are freaking annoying. And like that made that like in my mind made me decide, okay, no guineas for Sam. But the Muscovies, like they hardly made a noise. The other ducks that were there were just doing their normal duck noise thing. So they're quiet. I've heard they're super sweet ducks. They're very nice. If you're gonna do ducks, that's what you want to do, from what I've been told.
Okay. Well, because I've been looking at the goats' little barn thing that I got them. So the three of them have gotten so big already that, like, the three of them are standing on the barn together. I gotta snap a picture of it and post it on Instagram because it's kind of funny. All three of them are up there on the roof, and I was looking at it, like the size of them compared to that thing, and I was like, "Ugh, you guys aren't gonna fit in that for very much longer. Now what am I gonna do with it?" And I was like, ooh,
Ducks.
tiny duck house
Ducks.
for breeding pair of Muscovies.
Do it. See, you're recycling. It's environmentally conscious of you to get ducks. And duck eggs are delicious. So there's that.
I love duck eggs because I love baking with duck eggs. And in fact, I've got to share my cupcake recipe
Mm.
someday. I'll get on that. I've got the most amazing cupcake recipe, and when you substitute duck eggs for the chicken eggs in it, like 1 to 1, like it'll say 2 chicken eggs, and you still put in 2 duck eggs, makes the best cupcakes I've ever had in my entire
Yeah, I'm
life.
gonna need
In fact,
that.
I'll be cooking some tomorrow
Ooh.
because it's my husband's birthday
Aw.
tomorrow. So I'm gonna make him some
Happy
cupcakes.
birthday, Bev's
Yeah.
husband. I don't even know your husband's name. That's sad.
It's Jared.
Jared. Damn it. I did know that. You've said that. Sam's a
And you
drunk.
know what? For some reason, no, I can't remember your husband's name right now,
Oh,
but I feel like I know it
good.
too.
Matt.
You have definitely told me.
Matt.
Matt. Okay, yep. We're learning everybody's husband's name. Sorry, Brittany, if I got your husband's name wrong. I'm still sure that I did for some reason, but I'm also positive that it is Justin at the same time.
Yeah, we're bad with names, so this is fine.
Everybody, when you meet us, we're really bad with names and we're sorry. It
It's
doesn't mean that we don't think that you're important or
right.
that we don't like you, because I promise we really do. Just like my brain, it has like a door. After I've heard the name, like the door shuts
Yeah.
and then it like won't open back up again.
I definitely recognize faces, so I'll be like, "Oh, you're on Instagram, and you're on Instagram, and you're on Instagram," and you're gonna tell me your name, and I'm not gonna remember, and it is not personal at all.
Maybe we'll remember everybody's chickens. That would be really
Oh,
creepy and funny
yeah,
all at the same time.
definitely. But yeah, so I might have like a bajillion ducks very soon, but I've been doing so much research on how to hatch duck eggs. And okay, so chickens are pretty straightforward, right? In the incubator, it's not that bad. But duck eggs, like some people are like, you need two incubators. You need like the incubator for day 1 through day 25, and then you need another incubator for the hatching period.
Really? Why would they think that you
Yeah.
need two? What is the reasoning behind that?
First of all, ducks take longer to hatch. So call ducks can hatch after from day 26 on.
Hmm.
But Muscovy ducklings can be anywhere between 35 and 38 days from what I've read.
Oh.
So, because of the humidity and the bacteria, some people just recommend that you have a second incubator for the hatching so it's like free of the bacteria that's been collected in there for the past month.
Okay. You can't pull them out for a second and like wipe it all down with, like your antibacterial
You
stuff and then
know,
throw them back
I've
in?
thought about that, but I think it just takes.
It does take a while to heat back up and like,
And the humidity for the first like 25 days should be set at like 55%, but when it's time to hatch, you want to bump it up to 70%.
that's really humid. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And like this is a science. People are talking about like taking their duck eggs out and weighing them, and the duck egg needs to weigh like 70% less than it did, or like 70% of the I don't know, math. I'm bad at math, but it's the weight is different, and based on the weight, you should adjust the humidity. And I'm sitting here like, what the hell? Like, does does the mama Muscovy duck do this? Like, just by pure nature instincts? Like, oh, this duck egg is this weight, so I'm gonna get up and take a little swim and then come back over so I can screw around with the humidity to make sure it hatches okay. Like, holy crap. Like, this is a science.
Mother Nature is pretty incredible, so that would not surprise me one bit if she could tell whether or not it needed more
Yeah.
humidity based on like something that she does to it. Like she just like maybe pushes it around with her bill a little bit, or
Shit is crazy.
yeah, because ducks have a bill,
Right.
right? Not a
Yes.
beak.
They have a bell. I'm just like baffled by all this, so I'm hoping like we just don't screw it up. And hatching eggs that are shipped have a lower hatch rate too, so I'll be lucky if half of everything
They do.
hatches. But even if a quarter hatches, that's still like a decent amount of ducklings. I'm pretty excited. And I've also heard good things about Muscovies as parents because it's the only domesticated breed that co-parents. So the male duck and the female will both like take care of the
Really?
babies after they're born. Yeah, like
Oh.
super interesting. One of my Instagram people was telling me about this yesterday because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've done some research, but do you have any special tips? And she said that her handle is at brown eyes and bare feet. Has never done an incubator with Muscovies. She's always just let the hen do the work, and she's had really good hatch rate. So hopefully, like after this little, you know, hatching experience, and then when they're older, I can just throw duck eggs under them because they're supposed to be very good parents. And other domesticated duck breeds the males will become very aggressive with the ducklings and they can kill them, but that's not the case with these. So I'm very interested to see how this goes. And also, I believe between the ones I got and the ones that my husband got, it's another one of those mixes where we can get crazy color
Oh,
combinations
neat.
and combinations of genetics. Yeah. So I didn't even know there were like lavender Muscovies, but we might get some of those
Oh,
eggs.
that's so cool.
So yeah. I've heard good things about the white ones. Like those are, I guess, the nicest from what I've heard, but they're all so interesting looking. I'm really excited to see what we get.
They are, and ducks are so fascinating. I definitely want to get some ducks someday because I do really want their duck eggs for baking. We're sort of like overwhelmed with eggs already as it is. I keep telling like friends and family to just like come and get eggs anytime. I don't know if they like don't believe me or whatnot, but I usually end up having dozens of them sitting at the kitchen table like on any given day. And I'm like, no, please, like come get some eggs because this is why we do this. I wanted to like share it with all of you guys. So like come get eggs. And you don't have to pay me because trust me, I will need a favor from you one day.
Maybe that's what's deterring them.
That's a possibility. They're
Future
like, wait,
favors.
are you gonna ask me to bottle feed your baby goats? Because like while it's super adorable, it can also be super annoying at the same time. It's funny, the magic of bottle feeding the baby goats has already sort of worn off, but they are still very adorable. I've noticed a difference
Yes.
between the mama raised goat and the two that were bottle raised from day one. One of the goats that I have, Tonks, she was mama raised for like 2.5 weeks until I picked her up. But she took to a bottle just fine, so I still took her. And then the other two, they got their colostrum from mom, and then they were bottle fed from that time on.
Hmm.
Tonks headbutts the bottle like nobody's business. She like backs up and like bucks and headbutts it. And I'm trying to feed three goats at the same time because you can't hold one of them off and feed the other two. But you know, I'm not an octopus, so I only have two hands. So I'm like trying to get one of them to eat from the bottle that I've like balanced in between my knees and then like, you know, feed the other two with my hands. But then like Tonks will like headbutt it and it'll like fly out. And then she'll go like and headbutt all the other ones to like try to get their bottle if I haven't like scrambled and gotten her bottle back up fast enough.
Oh no.
Same with the little boy, Mini Coop. If I don't get a bottle in his mouth right away, he will go and headbutt the other two until I get a bottle in his mouth. So I'm like, what am I gonna do with you guys? And our barn is too dangerous to just like take them out and like feed them out there, like, you know, like to separate them because I don't want them jumping around in the barn by themselves because I don't know what they'll end up inside of or balancing on top of and falling into. So I have to like feed them in their like their stall. That's like where I have to feed them, but I can't separate them anywhere. So
The struggle is so
I have a
real.
conundrum. I haven't figured it out. They are down to 3 feedings a day now, though, so it is a lot less than it used to be. But we've had some outside time where they followed me around, which is super adorable, which just reminded me why I decided to bottle feed them. It's so easy.
Yeah.
Like, they come when I call and they follow me everywhere. We went on a huge walk, like around our pasture, and they just like bounded behind me like tiny mini deer, like they did their like little deer hops. It was super cute.
No, I think I saw those videos on your Instagram and I was like, oh, they love her. Look at that.
Hmm. They do. They know that I'm where the milk comes
Oh,
from. So
yeah.
it's kind of funny, like, because I balance a bottle in between my knees for, one of them every time I'm out there, they keep like headbutting my thighs when I'm sitting down. Because they think that, like, I don't know, a nipple's gonna drop out of there and they're gonna get to eat.
Oh, yeah. Little Toot, when he
And
was
I'm
in the
like,
house, he
oh,
did that
sorry,
too.
goats.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not really where it comes from.
That's too cute.
Like, but that's super funny. So yeah, now they're down to 3 bottles.
Oh, good.
And they'll be down to 2 bottles in a few weeks. And then before I know it, I won't be feeding them anymore, which will be so weird. Well, I mean, I'll still be feeding them,
Right.
just not bottle feeding them.
Right. You'll be so relieved because like Toot's still getting like 2 bottles a day, but we're dropping him down like an ounce every, well, I need to speed it up so it's like an ounce drop every day at this point because he's like, I think he's like 11 weeks now, maybe 12, I don't remember. But it's like, all right, buddy, you can be done now. But he's at like 7 ounces in the morning and 7 at night right now. And then he just has his little bit of grain and his hay.
Hmm.
He gets that. But because it's been so damn cold outside, I felt like more cautious about weaning him too quickly. Just because he is outside, he is separated because he could knock up the girls, so he doesn't have really
Yep.
anybody to cuddle with. He has places that he can get under to stay warm, but I didn't want to like take the bottle way too quickly and him get sick and sad and not do well. So he's being spoiled.
I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
Well, and like my breeder recommends that you don't wean until around 12 weeks anyhow. I know some people will wean their goats around 8 weeks. Like I saw the schedule for weaning at 8 weeks. And like if I were to be following that, Tonks would already like be getting ready to wean in another like week and a half, which just seems insane to me because she still looks so tiny.
Yeah.
So I am gonna follow the 12-week schedule to wean them because I think they can use the nutrients.
Right. I don't think it really hurts anything. It might make them a little fatter initially, but like with the summer and they'll be outside more and they'll be bouncing around. And I'm not too worried about little Toot being spoiled
Yeah.
for a few more weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't worry about it either.
I'm just getting so irritated with how freaking cold it is around here. Like this morning it was 20 degrees and I'm like, what in the actual hell? Like this is bullshit. It is like April and I'm ready for like at least flip-flops. You know what? I'll take jeans and a sweatshirt and just let me wear flip-flops. Give me like 60 degrees. Like, can we compromise here, Mother Nature? No? You're being a bitch? Okay, okay.
Yeah, I know, seriously. I woke up to snow yesterday. I didn't take a picture of it and post it to Instagram. I really should have though, because I woke up and seriously, I was like, what the hell is this? Like I wasn't even in a good
Yeah.
mood about it. I looked outside and I was like,
No.
all right, thanks for winter in Ohio. You have officially killed my joy for snow. But it'll be back next year. Don't worry,
Yeah.
everybody. I'll still be the like
Oh, yeah.
shining smiley face, excited about snow next year. But it's like today we were
Ugh.
outside. I was gonna finally put my blueberries in the ground. I've been meaning to. My friend up at Fruitdale Farm, she put her blueberries in the ground already, and they were like half the size of mine. And she's like, "Oh, they'll be good. You can put them in." But my biggest problem has been that I can't make myself stay outside that long. It's been so cold.
Oh.
So I was gonna do it today, and I decided not to. I went and helped my husband in the barn. We had what we thought was 16-foot boards of pine siding, and we were gonna side the goat barn with it.
Mm-hmm.
But my husband cut one of them, and we realized that it was oak and not pine, which is like super heavy and super heavy
Oh.
duty. And he's like, "We don't want to use oak to side the goat barn because it doesn't really need oak on it." He's like, "What would you like to do with all of this 16-foot oak boards that we've got. And what I really want to do is build a butterfly and hummingbird, like wildflower garden.
Ooh.
And because there is one in front of the barn, the old owner like planted wildflowers there, and it was super cool. Like these big giant wildflowers were like flowing out of it when we got here in June last year. But it was also full of thistle and weeds
Oh.
because you have to stay on top of like the
Yeah.
things that don't belong in the garden beds in Ohio. Otherwise, they like get super like overgrown. So we ended up having to rip the whole thing out, and it doesn't look like any of it's coming back. It's like covered in clover right now. It's not grass. It's something else. It's probably just another weed, but the chickens love it, so I keep ripping it out and giving it to the chickens. But he's going to build me beds there out of it. And then we'll have the wildflowers in beds so that I can keep better control over the weeds. Because what I'll do, I'm just going to put our native soil in it and maybe just like a little bit of potting soil just to give it some nutrients. But wildflowers usually aren't super picky on having super rich soil. And I'll throw the wildflower seeds down. I'll water them after May 1st, and then I'll just keep picking the weeds out as I see them pop up because I've gotten pretty good at identifying thistle and a few other things that keep popping up around here. And hopefully that'll keep it clean.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed, yeah. And it'll look so nice because it's like old siding off of a pig barn. So we get to recycle some material. It gets to live a new life. The soil will eventually erode it and we'll have to replace the bed someday, but I'm excited that we're going to get to put some of the used boards that we've worked so hard to recover from places to work.
Yeah. That's really cool. Very, very cool. If the weather cooperates, I'm excited to get outside and start just even ripping out the stuff in my garden bed or in my flower beds out front. Because, okay, so last year, this is how much of a noob I am with this garden stuff, even just flowers. Like my mom always had really cool flower beds, but we didn't like mulch at my mom's and dad's. So I get here and there's like mulch and that's like okay, fine. Like I that's fine. I can deal with this. But then they had like the weed barrier stuff,
Oh,
like
yeah.
the fabric stuff, and I was like, F this stuff. This is stupid. And I ripped it all out in like a section. And then the weeds started coming in. I was like, oh, this is why she did it.
Yep.
Okay. But I just like, I think because I was like, this was our first summer here too. So I was like, I just want to make it my own. I want to do what I want. But yeah, so I need to rip everything out and rip the rest of the fabric stuff out of the other sections and just completely start over, except for like the mums and the hydrangeas that are there, in the hostas that is there. Like I will leave those alone, but everything else I just need to rip out and just buy some new stuff.
I'm sort of at that spot too. Which was it? If I can find it before this episode drops, I'll link to it. It was a podcast interview that I heard. There was a woman, she was moving into a new house that summer, and she was like a master gardener. She lived in her childhood house. She was a woman, I want to say she was in her 50s or 60s because she was a grandmother by that point. She was living in her childhood house, so she was leaving behind a garden that she had basically cultivated like almost her entire life. She was talking about how she was going to get to know her new garden, and she said that she was going to wait an entire year before she did anything to any of the flower beds. And I
Mm.
was like, darn it, I listened to this episode just a tad too late because it was like August by the time I listened to it. And it dropped before I had moved, but I was a little behind on listening to my podcasts. So I missed it. And I had already started ripping stuff up and messing with all of the flower beds here. And now I've screwed up all the balance and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to do the same thing. Like there's so many weeds and things. Some things have gotten mixed up. I've got a bunch of perennials that need to be divided. I've got stuff that's like all matted down, stuff that's not coming back that probably should have. And I don't know. I messed it all up and I regret not letting it go through 4 seasons. So that was some good advice. If I can find that podcast episode, I'll link to it in the show notes so that you guys can listen to it in case you're moving too.
I kind of did that in sections of my house. Like I only ripped up the small part in front of like my front deck between like the end of the deck and the stairs because I was like, I'm gonna plant some lilies, like some lily bulbs and some what the hell are they called? Some gladiolas.
Oh,
So I did those, which did not look good in that area. I was like, just like, what did my mom used to plant? I'm gonna do that. So, but like the rest of the property, like I left all the trees alone and I left all like the backyard and the side of the barn and just to see what would come up that she had done before because I don't think the wife that lived here before worked very much. I think she just worked part-time at the bar in town. So she had more time than I do currently to do a lot of fancy farm stuff. So I definitely wanted to see what she had planted and that would come back. So it was like most of the work was done for me last year, which was
That
nice.
is really nice.
But now that I know what's around, I can start doing my own thing. I definitely want more hydrangeas though, because those are just so pretty and so low maintenance that I just want to plant them everywhere.
Hydrangeas. I'll have to look up what those are. I can't remember
Yeah.
what those look like right
Oh,
now.
they're so pretty. And then we have one lilac bush, and I'd like to get some more of those because they smell so good. Oh, I got this like survey in the mail from the Arbor Foundation like a couple months ago, and I filled it out, and they're going to be sending me like
Oh,
10 free trees when it's like warm enough.
my husband got that too. I don't know if he filled it out though. I'll have to ask him.
It was super easy. You could actually like go online and do it. And then they sent me more stuff for more like discounts, and now I'm gonna like have a freaking orchard in my yard if I'm not
That'll
careful,
be pretty
because
awesome.
I tend to shop when I'm stressed
Well, I
out,
mean, you're
and
shopping for
I
plants.
might as
Yeah.
well buy trees. Yeah, it's good for the environment, so that's
I
how I
like
can
that.
justify
I
it.
looked up hydrangeas and I have one of those next to the chicken coop.
See?
And fun fact about hydrangeas, you can change the color by sprinkling some lime at their roots. Yeah.
Hmm. That's gonna be my fun little science experiment when mine go into bloom.
Ooh, I like that. That'll be fun to see how that goes.
So stay tuned to that. It'll be like an episode of Mythbusters. It's like, does this really work? I'm sure it does, but until I see it, I have a hard time believing it.
Well, and
So,
it'll be interesting to see like what yours change color to because like I think like it depends on what the original like species and color was supposed to be on what color it changes because like lime doesn't just change them all to the same color.
right.
It like I can't remember that. I'm not even going to go into what it does because I don't even know. I'll stop talking now.
I think mine came in as like some of them were blue and some of them were pink. So I'm excited to see what that does. I will keep everybody on
Okay.
this podcast informed, and I will do like a little video and put it up on Patreon because you guys totally care.
Yeah,
Well, then everybody else is going to want to do it if it does work.
that's
It's
true.
because then it's like a magic trick. It'll be fun to show your kids science.
That might help get them into
Yes.
gardening because
Yeah.
my kids' garden beds, like the little tiny ones that they got from the Easter Bunny, most of them have already sprouted, which is totally blowing my mind.
Ooh.
What we did was we put the soil in and I wet it all down. Their little garden beds don't have holes in the bottom, which I'm planning on drilling holes in the bottom of them once we move them outside. But they're still in the house because
Mm-hmm.
it's, 35 freaking degrees here right now. So I can't put their little container gardens outside because they would just freeze. But everything has sprouted now, except for the cilantro and what else didn't sprout? There's one other thing that didn't sprout, but I can't remember. But marigold sprouted, which I got those seeds from my seed swap, and those were from 5R Farm, which is who submitted
Nice.
our story that we're going to be telling today. So I thought that was kind of a funny connection that was just totally like happenstance.
Mm-hmm.
And the dill sprouted and a bunch of other fun stuff. Some bachelor's buttons and Johnny Jump Up violas. So I'm excited to see where those go. The kids are all excited about taking care of them now. When we planted them, we soaked the soil, put the seeds in their little holes, and buried them the right depth. And then we wet the soil down just lightly, just a little bit more. And then I covered it in plastic wrap and taped it with packing tape so that it stayed like a greenhouse.
Oh, so fancy. Good
Yeah.
job. So,
It was kind of
so are
fancy.
the kids liking that then? Do they find it fascinating, or are they just kind of like, eh?
Well, so they did find it fascinating once they sprouted, and I was really glad some of the seeds sprouted in like 3 days, so it was easy to keep their attention because we do like
Mm-hmm.
this checklist thing with them. So they have a morning checklist and an evening checklist, and so one of the things I added to their checklist was to check on their container garden to see if it needs to be watered. And so what I was having them do was just pick up a corner, put their finger in the soil, and if it still felt damp, just close it. It doesn't need anything. But if it feels dry, then it'll need to be opened up, lightly watered, carefully watered so you don't disturb the seeds and whatnot, and then closed back over again. But now that so many things are sprouting, I've pulled the cover off because they got so tall they were running into the plastic and I didn't want it to stunt the growth. So
Wow.
now they're all out in the open, and the kids are carefully spraying them with a spritz bottle, and they seem to be pretty excited about them since, they're actually sprouting. But while it was just buckets of dirt, they didn't care about them.
Well, good. I'm glad there was some pretty quick, like not instant gratification, but quick results so they could kind of stick with it and keep going.
Yeah, I'm really glad about that too, because I was worried that it would lose their attention and then they would turn into like little desert containers instead of, being like actual garden containers. But I don't know.
Right.
And I finished organizing my seeds this week too, so I was really excited about that. Maybe I'll actually start planning a few things now since I've got them all organized. I had 5 pages of seeds, which means that I'm a total seed
Oh,
hoarder.
wow. We're gonna have to do a little episode on you for like the Hoarder's Seed Edition.
Yeah, right. Luckily, they all fit into like a container. I did end up moving them too because they didn't fit in the little paint can anymore. So they're all nicely organized in an envelope by like seed family. And then I put that envelope in like a one of those big plastic Tupperware things with a clasp on lid because I have to have my seeds in a container with a lid that is like sealable because the dog will eat my seeds. I didn't
Oh
know
my
dogs
gosh.
ate seeds, but my dog Colette, she totally eats seeds. So I have to be really careful with them because it's super annoying to come home and find your seed collection like ripped apart and spread all over the carpet, and then you're like trying to like sort them all out again. So
Ugh, silly dog.
I love my dogs, and I have never thought about killing my dogs, but I did for just a second in that moment because I was very upset. Because I had already organized them from the season, and that was back in December when that happened. I was all ahead of the game and had them all organized, and then she did that. I wanted to die.
Oh, she must have been on the poo list for a while.
Yeah, she was. Luckily, she's very sweet, so Colette gets back in good graces really easily. And she's also named after one of my favorite beers on the whole planet, so it's pretty easy to get back in my good graces on that.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the Great Divide Colette, which is a farmhouse ale. If you can get a hold of it, I highly
Ooh.
recommend it.
So with that, okay, so when you named your dog that, was that in the back of your mind? Like, I should name her something booze related, so if I get mad at her, I will forgive her faster? And in turn, do you feel like you should have named your children after alcohol?
Oh, so, I didn't realize that I would forgive her faster if she was named after booze. But fun, tiny story. We named all of our dogs after booze for a while because we were fostering dogs at the time. So
Oh.
we wanted a theme for all of our dogs' names. So, like, our first one was Dale. He was a super old golden retriever, and he was called Dale after Dale's Pale Ale. And then
Oh.
we also had like a porter. Who else did we have? We had so many dogs. I can't keep them all straight. We named one Bailey, after like Bailey's because we started running out of beer related
Yeah.
names. Yeah, we really enjoyed fostering the dogs. I would love to get back into that, but we don't have a fence here. Everything is on we have like an electric
Oh.
fence, so the dogs wear like a collar that gives them like a chime when they get close to the edge, and that's enough to keep them back and they stay in the yard. So
Right.
it's hard to teach foster dogs that though, because like you gotta actually like go through the motions of like teaching them how it works. Otherwise, they'll just keep busting through it, and then it's worthless.
Right. Right. But I feel like there are like booze names that you could give human children.
Oh,
Like
yeah. One of
Bailey's.
my friends,
Bailey is
yeah, one
easy.
of my friends has a Jameson.
See? Yep. And you could do like Stella, like Stella Artois or Stella Rosa, which is a wine. See, Miller. Yeah, you can't really call anybody Miller, but you could call somebody Bud.
Bud.
Oh, this is a weird
Yeah,
tangent.
I didn't think of naming my kids after alcohol. I named
Yeah.
Orion because I worked at a Mervyn's at the time. This is how long ago it was. Mervyn's does not exist anymore. I worked at a Mervyn's and I worked in the kids department, and a woman that was buying some children's clothes was calling her son her little star. and his name is Orion. And I was like, oh, when I have a son, his name is going to be Orion. And
Aw.
then that sort of set the tone for Aurora. Because I was like, well, what sounds good with Orion? And I wanted to name her Nova, but my husband like nixed it right off the bat. He was like, no, you cannot call her Nova. Like, what's wrong with
He's
Nova?
like,
I think that's a beautiful name.
it's a little, maybe a little
I
too
think he thought it was a little,
hippie.
yeah, that was exactly what I was gonna say. He thought it was just a little too
Yeah.
hippie because my husband's not very hippie.
Well, you guys sound like you balance each other out, though.
We do, we balance each other out very well. And in fact, we make funny like hippie, hipster, and like hillbilly jokes around here because like we live in the middle of nowhere. So like my neighbor, he had a beard for the winter.
Hmm.
And he was at the mall. Well, probably not a mall. I can't imagine him walking into a mall. He was walking like the streets of like the short north in Columbus, which if you're familiar with Columbus at all, it's like a fancy area of Columbus where people shop and like eat at good restaurants and whatnot. And somebody offered him some beard oil and he was like, "Oh no, I'm a hillbilly, not a hipster."
Oh.
And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Oh my gosh. See, my husband has a glorious beard, and I swear to you, he uses beard oil. He's got like beard wash. He's got like the wax for the
Mm.
mustache part. Yeah, I wouldn't call him a hipster, but he definitely has a very well maintained beard. It always smells like lemongrass and shea butter.
That sounds
Yeah.
pretty
He
hipster to
he
me.
blow dries. He uses my blow dryer more than I do. I air dry my hair when I wash it. He uses my blow dryer every single day to blow dry his beard to shape it.
That's
Which
amazing.
I did pluck him from the city and, encourage us to move somewhere with more land. So he was a city boy and
Oh,
I
okay.
lived in like
Fair enough.
literally like middle of nowhere, like growing up. So I'm more familiar with this. Like it's a big deal that I live somewhere that is pretty rural but also has a Walmart because where I grew up, we had to drive like 15 minutes for Walmart. And if you wanted to go to a
Yeah.
mall, it was like almost an hour.
Oh.
So we have it pretty good here.
Yeah, my husband uses beard oil also when he has a beard because he grows a beard for the winter and then he shaves it off.
Oh.
He shaves it off in the spring and he shaved it off last week and got on me because he said I didn't notice, but I totally did. I noticed. I just didn't say anything. But he always has a goatee and
Mm.
I've never seen my husband's chin,
Oh.
like ever.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah, it is kind of funny. Either always has a goatee or he grows his beard in the wintertime. But he said that he was trying to get Mother Nature to let spring come on a little faster. And I was like, well, your face is going to be cold for a few more weeks because
I
it
feel
doesn't seem to be coming on.
I feel like maybe we can blame him then because Mother Nature probably doesn't like to be provoked, and that might have been like provoking her. Like, haha, I shaved my beard, bring me warm weather. And she's like, haha, no.
I was telling my friend that I'm kind of afraid that this really cold winter is my fault because sometime in February we had a snow and I was like, "Oh, this will be our last snow for the year. We better enjoy it."
You jinxed us.
I did. My husband says I do that all the time though. I'm like I'm that person at the baseball game that's like, "Oh, he's pitching a perfect game."
Oh no.
And all the other fans are like, "No." I'm
Well,
like, "Oh,
I
sorry."
I hope you talk about Ohio State like that all through football season. Jinx away. I was actually talking to my husband about that today. I was like, Bev's an Ohio State fan. So football season's going to feel really long for this podcast recording because we will record the day after games.
Oh, we might have to change our recording days. Although, actually, no, I was thinking about this. I just totally thought of this. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you
No,
off.
you're fine.
But we cheer for Michigan as long as they're not playing Ohio State
Oh,
because they're in the Big Ten.
oh,
So we cheer for
okay.
all the Big Ten teams because, like, we're all, like, kind of on the same team, right?
Yeah, but
I mean, unless they're playing somebody where if Michigan loses, then it makes us look better. I don't know. I don't understand how the stats thing works. My husband's more into
oh,
that than I am.
so
But we have
you're
definitely cheered for Michigan
so
because
you're
we're Big Ten
fair
fans.
weather fans. That's what it is.
No, we're not fair weather fans. We are very much Ohio State fans, but we cheer
Okay.
for the Big Ten. So
Right.
that means that every now and again we'll cheer for Michigan, but not when they're playing Ohio State. I know there are some Ohio State fans though that would definitely think that that's blasphemy, and I'm sure that I might
Yeah,
end up with some messages about that. But I'm also
you
not from
might.
Ohio, so
Yeah, you're a transplant, so
I'm
it's
a
different.
transplant fan. And in fact, I was never a football fan even before that because my dad never watched football. So
Well, maybe someday we'll have to like tailgate and record an episode during the rivalry game.
I was gonna say we can find out where the Ohio State Michigan game is this year, and maybe we can all go.
That would be fun.
Because honestly, it doesn't matter where it's at, whether it's in Ann Arbor or Columbus, it's not a far drive for either of
No.
us. I mean, it's a reasonable drive for both of us. So we have to see how much tickets are because that might be a little bit of a maybe we'll have to add a stretch goal for Patreon. We can record
Right.
a we can record an episode while we're tailgating, and then go to the game, and we can even sit together and be nice to each other. No, my
Yeah.
husband will say that we have to sit across the stadium from each other. He won't handle that.
But here's the thing with college games that I have a problem with. I don't know what Ohio State's stadium's like, but U of M's like it's just bench. There are no seat backs. There is no
Oh,
personal space. There's no cup holder because you do not get to drink alcohol on the inside. So it's
what? You can't drink alcohol at
oh
Michigan
no.
Stadium?
No, you can't.
Oh, you can at Ohio
Oh,
Stadium. We buy beers there all the time. Like Land
oh
Grant and like a bunch of local
shoot.
Ohio breweries, they sell beer there. Yeah, so hopefully it's in the shoe this year, because then if it's in the shoe, we can drink while we're. And you know what? After like 5 beers, we're not even going to care about the
Oh,
rivalry. Or at least I'm
Oh,
not going to.
I'll talk shit, but it'll be fun but I'll probably be more timid because I'll be surrounded by like people in red.
No, I think that usually a lot of Michigan fans go to that one also. Like, like they block the tickets pretty well. Like I think that they do still give the home team an advantage. Like if it was gonna be, is it called the Big House? Do I have that
Yes,
right?
yes.
If it's in the Big House, then there will obviously be more Michigan fans there, but there'll still be a lot of Ohio State fans there.
Yeah, I don't think the football schedules are out yet. I'm looking. Oh, they are. Okay, let's see.
Yeah, my husband was taking days off to like go to games and stuff already. He was working on that this morning. I was like, man, spring hasn't even sprung, and we're talking about football season already?
So it is at Ohio State this year.
Oh, okay. So that means it's definitely feasible for us to
Is
go
that
because it's super
Easter
close for us.
weekend? 11/24?
Not Easter, but it should be Thanksgiving weekend.
Shit.
Is that what you meant?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is
It's
Thanksgiving
always
weekend.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, the
Oh.
game is always Thanksgiving
Damn
weekend.
it.
Yeah,
We
I forget
usually
what it
have our
is. Like,
kids that weekend, but we might make special arrangements to go on a
oh.
field trip and just see if we can switch weekends because that would be fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or I mean, you can bring the kids, but we haven't brought the kids to a college football game yet because some of them are pretty. What's what I'm looking for? It's not terrible. That's not the right word. But
Raunchy?
like, since there's drinking, yeah, I mean, since there's drinking at college games, like especially
Yeah.
during the rivalries and stuff, they can get pretty heated,
Yeah.
and our kids don't. They don't understand it like we do. Like we're like, yay, like go Ohio State, like OHIO, whatnot. They would do that at the Michigan fans also because they wouldn't understand that it would be like offensive to them, and then they would totally like bring on some ridicule like from adults, and the adults would be drinking so much they'd probably ridicule them. So I don't know. We haven't brought them to any
Yeah.
games yet.
We've only taken our kids to NFL games that have been preseason just because, I mean, preseason is pretty tame depending on who the opposing team is. Well, regular season's pretty tame too, but sometimes you just never know. And I don't want to be that parent that's like, okay, can you watch your language because my children are sitting here? Like, it's the atmosphere. So I might
Yeah.
wait, like, I don't want to affect other people's behavior based on my children being there. Like, I'm sorry, that is just silly. And maybe if I ever decide to push children out of my own area, I might feel differently, but I would just never put them in that
Did you just
situation.
say push children out of your own area?
Yeah. Because I
That's an
just have
awesome way to put that.
stepchildren, so it's clearly not the same, but I just wouldn't personally put them in that situation if I knew there could be swearing and things that would make them or me uncomfortable with them around. Like if you don't like it, don't bring them there. I'm sorry. Maybe that'll piss some people off, but so I can definitely see where you're coming from with that. And like if I do notice children, I try to clean up my language a little bit too, just because I tend to be like hyper aware of my surroundings. So it's funny. I expect myself to taper to children being around, but I don't expect others to,
Yeah, I'm the
just
same
because I
way.
don't expect them to be the same level of self-awareness as I am. Which sounds kind of arrogant, but that's not how I meant it to come off.
Well, you're setting your expectations up like properly though, because like if you're expecting something out of people and then they don't deliver it, and then you're just angry and disappointed, and then you're likely
Right.
to be like that
And
weird person
literally,
that starts the fight in the middle of the stadium, and nobody wants to be that person either,
yeah,
because then you just look like a weird drunkard, whether you were drinking or not.
right. And like strangers owe you absolutely nothing. Like, I am not to the point of entitlement where I'm like, oh, just because my child is here, I'm entitled to tell you to sit down and be quiet because you're going to upset them. Like, no, that's not how the world works.
So I'm trying to figure out how to get us back on track.
I know. You went on a
We
journey
did.
again.
Hey,
Jesus.
we're really good at journeying. I mean, maybe that's what we should have called this podcast,
But I
Journey.
feel like,
No, that's terrible. There was a band named after that already.
but I feel like people like some of the non-farm stuff too because it makes us more relatable outside of
That's very
farmland.
true. You get to see our true colors, and that's why you love us.
Yes.
So I gave the goats their vaccines this weekend.
Oh, how did that go?
So there was screaming.
Uh-oh. From you or from the goats?
So it was the
Okay.
goats, and I think some of it was coming from me.
Oh no.
And there was blood, and it was very, very dramatic. It was so much harder than they made it look,
Oh
like when I
no.
learned how to do it. But so I'm trying to figure out, like, I don't think I did it wrong because I watched some videos. I went somewhere and they showed me how to do it. I think that goats are just very, very dramatic, or some goats are very, very dramatic
Yeah.
because Tonks was who I was holding when I was learning how to do it. Tonks was who got the vaccine, like, from the pro that vaccinated tons of goats. And she was totally fine. Like, she jumped a tiny bit, but I just, kind of held her a little tighter. He pushed the CD&T in, slowly. He said it burns. He said so.
Hmm.
He's like, be sure and put it in kind of slowly so you're not just like jamming it all in there, but you got to hold her so that she doesn't move and like kick the needle out and whatnot. And then
Right.
you rub the spot where the vaccination was to make sure that they don't get a big old bump. Well, I decided to do Coop first because he was smaller. So I was like, oh, the smaller one is going to be easier. So we got all of our stuff prepped. I had to have the scale out, and I can't remember what brand the medicine is that we use for the coccidiosis, which by the way, I learned how to
Ooh,
say coccidiosis
nailed it.
because we do that treatment at the same time as the vaccination. So they get the 2 milliliters of the CD&T, and then they get the coccidiosis based on what their weight is. So we had to have all that lined up and the scale out so that we could get them their injection, let them run around for a minute, and then weigh them, and then give them the coccidiosis treatment. Well, I was like, Coop is smaller, so he's going to be way easier to do. So let's do him first. Well, first I got the needle out and I got all the stuff in it, and each goat got their own needle. Somebody said that could use the same needle on multiple goats because they don't, like spread disease that way necessarily. But I decided that I wanted to use the sharpest needle I could on each goat.
Hmm.
So each of them got a brand new one because I didn't want to be jamming a dull needle like, into a goat for a
Right.
vaccination. I'm sure people that are really good at it can probably like, get it square and, good and fast, but I'm still new. So everybody got a new needle. And I pulled out his skin with, his fur to tent it so that I could put it in. I had my finger over it so that I could feel when the needle was all the way in there and make sure that I didn't punch all the way through. And I put it in on one side and he screamed like nobody's business
Aww.
and just started wailing and kicking. And my husband's like, he's holding him and he's like, oh my gosh, like, did you hit a muscle? Like, did you hit anything? And I'm like, I'm like, no, like, I didn't. This is exactly where it's supposed to be. I'm like, I know that this is right. I got half of it in and then he kicked it out. And I was like, well, I'm not
Aww.
gonna stab in the same spot, so we're gonna have to do the other side. And then like I check his fur is white and there's like a little bit of blood coming out. I'm like, oh, he must have like kicked around like while I had it in it. And I was like, oh, poor guy, I'm so sorry. I rubbed it really good to make sure that he didn't get a bump, from the medicine. And we did the other side, and he pretty much reacted exactly the same. Like I was stabbing him with a knife and then twisting it.
Oh.
I was like, great. I was like, these goats are gonna be very dramatic while we do it. And we did Sky also, and she reacted exactly the same way, except she bucked even more, so she bent the needle.
Oh no.
Yeah, and my husband's like, "Oh man," he's like, "This was like way harder than we thought it was gonna be." I was like, "I know, but if we wanna like do this, we've gotta like learn how to vaccinate our own goats." I was really nervous, so we sat out there with them like for a really long time to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that like it didn't get put in the wrong spot because it's supposed to be what's the word I'm looking for? There's the intramuscle shots and vaccinations that need to go in, but that's not what
Yeah.
the CD&T is. The CD&T is just supposed to go under the skin. So you have to make sure that you don't accidentally get it like in the meat or in the veins. So that's why I was holding my finger over it so that I could feel that the needle was under the skin, but not punched through because that would be worthless. You'd just be, like squeezing the medicine out the other side of the goat and they wouldn't get any of it.
Right. Right.
So I know that it was in the right spot and I know that it was fine, but I think they were just super dramatic and Tonks is my easy goat though. She like sits on my lap and lets me pet her and she like cuddles. So now I know that these two goats are super dramatic. But there was one mistake that I made that I wish I would have done a little more research about before I did it. Most people keep epinephrine on hand when they give vaccinations to goats
Oh.
because some goats can have like a crazy allergic reaction to their vaccinations. And if you don't have epinephrine on hand, like, they'll swell up, asphyxiate, and pass
Ugh.
away. And there's nothing you can do to stop it, like, unless you happen to have like an EpiPen. You might be able to get some Benadryl down their throat like super fast, but I didn't read that until later because I wanted to look into it and I was like, gosh, like, did I do something wrong? Like, did I mix this up and this was supposed to be an intramuscle one? I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I had my list. I learned how to do it. I watched it. I talked to lots of people. I watched videos. I read all this stuff. I'm like, what exactly happened? They're just dramatic, but I missed the I missed the epinephrine part and I wish I would have known that because then I was like super nervous. I was like, oh, I was like, maybe I should go watch them. And I did. I went out there and spent a little more time. They were totally fine. They didn't even act like anything was wrong. And it turned out that giving half of the vaccine in one arm and then the other half in the other arm is something that a lot of people do to prevent lumps. So I was like, oh hey, I did it like the pros do,
Yay.
just because my goats were screaming.
Oh, how dramatic. Yeah, that whole epinephrine thing and the dying sounds quite dramatic too. Hopefully, we never have to experience that. That sounds awful.
I'm hopeful too. I'm gonna go ahead and get a prescription for that though, just to like throw in with the CD&T so that when I give vaccinations, I'll have it on hand just because,
Yeah.
you never know. I mean, they all have reacted fine to it, so I'm not expecting that they'll have a problem in the future, but I don't know. Allergies can be kind of funny like that. So,
Right, and you just want to be prepared too.
yeah, being prepared for like all of the things that could possibly go wrong is definitely one of our things as like, you know, animal keepers. That's one
Yes,
of our jobs.
absolutely. Oh, so I feel like this might become a thing, but we got another fun farm story from one of our loyal listeners. Would you like me to grace you with this turkey story?
I definitely want you to grace me with the turkey story because I asked for it. I saw it on her thing. I happened to be logged on the Drinkin' Farm. So I saw her say something about a turkey story that she could not speak of. And I was like, oh, please tell me the turkey story that you can't speak of. And so she sent it to the Drinkin' Farm page, and I haven't heard it yet because I didn't read it. I saw that you had responded to it. So I was like, oh, I'm not going to look because I want to be surprised.
Yes. So we're trying to do this thing for the listener's benefit of if it comes through the email and it's a story, like I'll just let Bev read that one to me, so it's a surprise to me, and vice versa with the DMs on Instagram. I mean, it might not work perfectly every time, but definitely it's more fun if one of us doesn't know what the story is. So, this one is from Stacy from at 5R Farm Oregon on Instagram. If you're not following her, you should. She runs Turkey Snood Sunday. I think I'm saying that right.
Yes.
So
Yep,
if you have
that is her hashtag.
turkeys, you need to get in on that because it's fun. I don't have turkeys yet, but I'm starting to get in the mindset of having meat, chickens, and turkeys and processing. So I'm mentally getting there, but I think she has some pet turkeys. I'm not really sure if she processes all of her turkeys or not, but they look kind of fun. This turkey in particular is very friendly, and this is how the story goes. My Tom Turkey Ringo has a major foot fetish. If I sit down very long in the turkey yard, he will come over and start doing his courtship display dance closer and closer to me. And I constantly have to shoo him away or get up and go sit someplace else where he can't get to my feet. A few times I have let him continue to see what he would do. He'll start nuzzling my shoes with his beak and draping his snood on my foot, and then he'll proceed to
Ooh.
make sweet love to my feet. Oh, it gets better. Once I let a non farming friend watch him in action with my feet because I mentioned it, and she said she wanted to see, but then I think she was absolutely horrified and regretted the whole episode. And then she did proceed to send me a video of it, and it is quite funny. So I'm gonna see if Stacy can actually email us that video so we can put it up on the Patreon feed via YouTube, so you all can witness the turkey snood action. So thank you, Stacy, for sharing the story that you said you couldn't speak of with us, and now I'm speaking for you. So I hope you don't mind.
And now we have spoken of it.
Yes,
And it's so
but you didn't have to
amazing.
say it.
Yeah, that's
Sam
true.
had to say it, so it's fine.
Sam tells stories so well. I would not have done that story the justice that you did it. You're a good storyteller.
Well, it's my theater background, my
Oh, there we go.
acting background.
See,
Yeah.
you knew that that would
So,
come in handy one day.
oh,
You just
absolutely.
didn't realize what the context was going to be.
You know what? I was talking to somebody at my work on Thursday about how my theater degree is almost more valuable than my master's degree in health administration because I've learned how to adjust and improvise in situations and with different people and how to adjust my tone and how I'm speaking to people and learning to mirror people so you can get people to give you buy-in or get on the same level as you are with business related things. So it's definitely, I think, worth a little more than my master's degree, which is ridiculous. Just because there are benefits across the board between work and just your personal life, and now this podcast. Like now I get to practice my storytelling skills with you guys, and I hope I make you laugh out loud a little bit. Because me and Bev, we're just giggly all the time. So the true test is if you're laughing while you're driving or working out or just drinking your chore beer at the end of the day.
Yes, that is the true test. Because
Yes.
I really am laughing all the time. Most of the time it's just at myself, but
Well, you have to laugh at yourself. You know,
that's true.
life's too short.
Well, thanks for listening to our eighth episode of We Drink and We Farm Things. I'm Bev.
And I'm Sam. And make sure you're following us over at Drink and Farm on Instagram because that's where we're most active. We have Facebook as well. Not quite as active there though, but maybe if you guys give us a like, we'll throw some exclusive content on there that's not even on Patreon. I mean,
Ooh.
maybe I'm overpromising a little bit, but you know, Facebook is different than Instagram, so maybe make me work for it, you know. Um, and then, yeah, make sure you're sending us your farm stories if they're just cute or funny or weird or strange or like maybe it was a transformative moment for you that you'd like to share. We'll take anything. And I don't know about Bev, but I truly enjoy seeing these stories and reading at least one of them on these episodes. I think this is a thing we're gonna have to keep doing.
Oh, yeah, I think the stories are fantastic. And there are lots of stories to be told in the farm world. Some of them are going to be weirder than others. And I think that that's part of the fun.
Absolutely.
Well, and this episode was brought to us by our Patreon supporters. So there will be a link
Woohoo!
in the show notes to our Patreon so that you can go check that out and see if you want to get in on that. Yeah, our Patreon supporters is our show sponsor. So cheers to you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yay! Bye, guys. We will talk
Bye.
at you next week.